Hello and welcome to week 8 of Here Comes the Run of Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And this week, Thommo, I'm not actually at home, as you can see. Slightly different backdrop. I am up a mountain, basically. Part of a Wellness Worldwide camp that we've done. So basically a little retreat for 4 or 5 days where we are in Adelboden in the Swiss Alps, which is kind of the middle of nowhere and a really beautiful place to run. So I might try and drop some little clips of the run that we went on this morning, up the side of the river, climbing up through the valley. A lot of fun, a lot of climb. So semi-altitude here already, 1,400. I think we must have gone up to about 1,600, 1,700 this morning. So
you're in
nice
a happy
climb.
place away from home.
Can you tell?
Yeah,
I'm in a happy place, a few days away, and get to run on some great trails and look at some amazing views. So what could be better? And then a bit of World Cup fever building up, and that plays aptly into today's guest that we've got coming up is, of course, the footballer Danny Mills, wearing 2 hats or 3 hats. How many hats is he wearing? He's basically, of course, in his footballing role, but as dad to George and dad also to Stan in the footballing world, and as a parent in general, will be sharing his thoughts with us a little bit later on.
No, he's a unique experience, a very supportive dad, and he talks very, he's got 4 kids, all equally successful in their own rights, in different ways. Even mentions rugby might be entering his wheelhouse
through the
as well.
daughter's boyfriend.
Yes, which will be interesting. But no, he's people that have experienced elite sport at a high level, and not just playing it, but also nurturing and helping his kids is a unique insight, and he has some really interesting things to talk about on all that. And he's such a great bloke and so generous with his time as well.
Absolutely. So before we get into that, just a quick confirmation, really. We talked about last time Cape Town was waiting on that green tick, basically, to add them into the majors. We now have 8 majors, so anybody who's signed up for Cape Town will be running in it as one of the majors next time around. So that was confirmed in the week. We just missed that last week. And then also some sad news, Thommo, this week last week with the passing of Kieran Leonard.
Yeah, that it was put quite a shockwave through not just the athletic community, Irish community. He was obviously part of the Nike team that I was part of for a very brief time, but still, anyone that knew him, he was someone that even a brief meeting was a whirlwind of kind of excitement. He brought a lot of character and charisma with him, and really sad. 2012 Olympic athlete, world finalist in 2011, indoor medalist 3K in 2013. I was actually a teammate of his when he did that, and I remember him going out and coming back and the excitement he had. But he was just a real force of nature, a real loss to the athletic world, to friends, family. So yeah, shout out to him. There's nothing in these scenarios, there's nothing you can say other than just acknowledge and relish in someone what life they did have on this planet and taken too soon. But yeah, shout out to him and everyone, and lots of lovely tributes that have come through, and there's some lovely kind of historical videos and stories that he did produce that were really well put together, that I'm sure people enjoy looking back on, and just what kind of a character he was. But lovely lad, and he'll be missed. Absolutely.
And it is a shame, isn't it, that it takes this to kind of, as you say, look back at the character that he was and what he brought. And so many people have been putting things out about how he added to them or helped them get through something, or gave some great advice, or just inspired, because he really went out and had fun. And I know Danny's going to talk about that being one of the most important areas of making it in sport. And you can absolutely say, he went out, left everything out there on the track. So thoughts are with friends and family, and very, very sad news.
Yes. We'll move on to the next bit, but not that I always feel bad to say moving on, because you don't want to just move on. You want to keep talking about it. But yeah, we have the Danny interview coming up, as we've talked about. Have you started watching the World Cup before we get into that? Have you watched any game yet?
I haven't watched a full one. I have to confess that. I've watched bits of them.
Okay.
because I've been doing a lot of traveling, and it's like, you know me, sleep's quite important as well, and they are in the middle of the night, a lot of
Yeah.
them. So yeah, I've been trying to catch up with the news more than that, actually being able to watch it. But yeah, that will build up as we get closer into it.
Well, I think as we record this, that
No.
Cape Verde game, 0-0 draw with Spain was
Spain.
quite something.
Yeah.
Incredible effort. But again, it's funny. I was watching it and actually with my dad, and he mentioned about how it's like watching an FA Cup, like a Premier League team taking on a lower league team, but it's a World Cup, and you're watching
Yeah.
the best of the best for these countries, and it is. There's something about elite sport seeing a big team being taken on and bravely a lesser experienced
Yeah.
team, for a lack of a better
Well, it's
language,
David and
showing you can
Goliath, isn't it?
compete. Well, yeah, yes,
Yeah.
but I mean it is, but I think it's the fact that those players on the pitch didn't view it like
Yeah.
that, and that's how you
Yeah.
overcome
And
things.
it was also, we were chatting about it at dinner last night because the news was starting to filter through.
Yeah,
And it is that mindset. And it's like, if you almost go in there with, right, all we've basically got to do is stop them getting a goal and make it that simple. I mean, it's not that simple, but it kind of, that's almost what they did. If you look at the possession, wasn't it? It was much more stacked, but weren't able to actually convert that.
and that's part
in the
of the
end.
discipline of football.
Yeah.
The different tactics. They could have sneaked it at the end as well. They had a couple of chances, and Spain were like pouring it on, and they left a few gaps at the back. But hey, listen, we're a running podcast.
Exactly. I feel like we need to bring Crammy back on to help me out on this one.
Yeah.
Or Raf, he could actually help me out a bit as well. But yeah, let's get into that interview with Danny Mills. It's a great listen. It is a long one, but I think there's so many great gems in here. And now it is time to welcome Danny Mills to Paula's Run Club. Thanks so much for joining us, Danny. Of course, at the moment the World Cup's going on, so I'm sure you've got a lot of work going on around that, and taking a lot of interest in what's going on out there as a retired now England footballer, but of course dad to George, and that's primarily what we're going to touch on. And of course your marathon running prowess, which we've just worked out is second fastest footballer transferring to the marathon. Pretty impressive, very impressive 3:12 in 2023 in London.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought, having sort of retired through injury, I don't know, 16, 17 years ago now, it was always on my mind that I was always fit pre-season. I always used to, come back very, very fit. I'd always had in the back of my mind, wanted to run a marathon. Then obviously injury sort of curtailed that, and never thought it was going to be possible. Ran my first one marathon by accident. Wasn't supposed to run that. No, I was running
How'd you do it
I
by
was running,
accident?
well, I was running for Jane Tomlinson.
Oh, right.
So I was part of the relay team. Hannah Cockcroft was in our team. Howard Webb, obviously now referee, and we had, some other famous people were in that. So I was supposed to do the first leg, and I'd had a bit of a heavy weekend. So I was supposed to do the first 10K. So I did the first 10K, and obviously Hannah before the start was like, "Oh, we need to win this." I can't remember how many medals Hannah's got. It's too many to mention. But she was like, "We better win this. This is really important. I want to." I'm like, "All right, Jesus, Hannah, calm down a bit. It's like, it's supposed to be for fun, this." And I think the night before, I hadn't prepared particularly well. I had a big weekend, fish and chips. I think the night before,
Good carb loading.
and ran the first 10, ran it quite well, and then thought, I feel all right actually. I thought, rather than wait for the bus to come and pick us up at 10K, I'll run to the next sort of checkpoint and I'll get a lift back with Hannah. Got to the next checkpoint. She'd done the same thing. So then sort of went, well, I might as well go to the next one. And that was like 14 miles. And then met one of our other teammates at that stage. He went, well, it's only another 4 miles to the switchback point at the university in York. We might as well just jog it to there. And then it saves us waiting 2.5 hours for the bus. So we're running along a reasonable pace. And all of a sudden, at the sort of the switchback point, we just see the 3-hour guy going the other way. And we sort of both look at watch, and I'm going, we're doing okay here, I went, should we just finish it? So I came in with that A17 or what it is on the bib, and people are going, why is he still running? He should have stopped a long time ago. So my first one was 3:17 in York for Jane Tomlinson, which was bizarre because I hadn't run more than 10K. But it's just one of those. It hurt. I'm not going to lie. The last the last few miles was very, very painful. But yeah, I guess it just goes to show that the power of the mind and what you can achieve.
And also probably the underlying fitness you had at the time. I mean, how close was it? You'd retired then, but you were fairly close, were you?
Oh, I was training. I was training every day.
Yeah.
But I hadn't. I was doing different sessions. I was doing lots of gym sessions, lots of Pilates stuff at that time, lots of HIIT sessions in the gym. So the fitness, I just had, and I was running fast 10Ks, but I hadn't done all the extra miles, if that makes sense. So I was, I think you can maybe get away with it once.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it as a training plan. It's not the best thing to do.
But it's not bad.
No, I was going to say, because you cover roughly close to 10K in a football match, you can cross 90 minutes, a lot of stop-start sprinting, isn't there? So you do cover a lot of ground. I mean,
back in the day, I'd have been about 12, 13K. It's maybe a little bit less now. It's maybe slightly more intense. The sprints are maybe a little bit quicker. But it's 90 minutes, 10K. There's a lot of walking in that time. There's a lot of standing still. It's not that demanding. It's not that difficult.
There is also a lot of, so when you run a marathon, you're pretty much going linear the whole way.
Yes.
And when you're playing, you are stop-starting. There's a lot of torque and pressure on knees, hips, ankles.
That's the hardest bit about it. Yeah. It's the changing of direction. Obviously, the twisting, the turning. And I think now, obviously, I've seen both sides of it. People say, is running not bad for you? I said, well, not really. And actually, and I think there's a crossover point where when you become an elite runner, running's not really that bad for you because you're very, very fast. Your contact time on the ground is minimal. You're quite light, obviously, as well. It's not jogging. You're not pounding the streets. You're not heel striking all the time, putting huge amounts of force through your body for every step, like a 4-5 hour marathon runner would do. Now, I say, so it's the speed that you'd run at for most people is sprinting. You're on your toes, you're very, very quick, you're very, very light. That's not that bad for you because, your body gets used to that, your cadence and everything else, and you adapt and you build to it. Jogging is not brilliant for you. I think you're almost better off walking quickly than you are sort of trudging along, smashing the body time after time, which isn't great for the joints, which I found as I get a bit older.
But I think also the improvements in shoe technology have kind of changed that. And I guess that was a big one that I was going to ask coming from, because football boots, there's not a lot of cushion in it. So you're running that 12, 13K around a pitch and you're basically smashing. Even though you're on grass, you are smashing joints a little bit, and particularly I would think toe joints and metatarsals and that area.
I mean, you never, I know I've seen some runners' feet, but you don't want to see footballers' feet. They are horrific.
Runners aren't much better. Why not?
I guess, but with running, you probably have a bit of space at the front of the shoe, for a bit of movement. Footballers, obviously, you want as much dexterity as you can. Most footballers will wear half a size or a size too small in their boot, so almost it fits like a surgeon's glove. So you can, you get an incredible feel. You don't want it baggy in any way, shape, or form, which basically means your toes are sort of bent over at the end of the boot. Right. Which isn't great. After 20 years, your feet aren't particularly good. But yeah, I think a lot of it in football as well is you're bent over and stooped quite a lot of time because you're having to turn so often. Obviously, you need to get low to the ground to make those turns. You're crouched over. The longest sprint you might do is probably 20 yards, 20 meters. So you never really get stood up and into a full start. If you imagine that as a sprinter, coming out of the blocks, you're still incredibly low, sort of 20 meters in, and then you've got to stop and turn and go the other direction. So you never really get into that full stride, if you like. So, yeah, I mean, football's amazing. It's the best, for me, it's the best career on the planet. But like most elite sports, it's not great for the body.
So did you find when you retired and did a bit more running and obviously done marathons, did you find that a lot of the damage that football did, kind of running helped the body a bit?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was always somebody that thought, and I would go back, please, and I guess I was half intelligent compared to most footballers. I realised that having a huge base fitness going back pre-season allowed me to do the shorter, faster stuff. So I would have a couple of weeks off, in the summer, and then I would just get into the long, slow runs, and do as many of them as possible. And people say, well, that's not specific. I said, no, but it's like anything. If you have a huge base, when you go back to working with a football, you're not getting tired, and as we know, the moment you get tired, concentration goes. And as soon as concentration goes, your touch goes, your pass goes, you lose a mat, all those things sort of go. And I never had the greatest natural ability. So I always knew that I had to be incredibly fit. So I worked constantly on fitness. And then obviously when I finished, I still had this drive and desire, did a marathon, and then thought, oh, maybe what if I train for one? Can I go quicker? Or maybe if I train a bit more, can I go quicker? Oh, the knees are a bit sore, I'll have to adapt training, whatever, but can I go quicker?
and you can't take that competitive instinct out of it, can you?
And I say to a lot of people now, no one cares about your marathon time. Okay, different for you guys. It's important, and because you talk about records and medals and all those types of things. But your average person, the only person that cares about your time is you, and that's what it is. And I wanted to beat myself in every marathon that I did, and I had certain targets and goals that I would have been devastated had I not met them.
So what? I'm just curious of the timelines on this. Was George already running seriously when you moved to the marathon, or did he come into athletics through watching you with marathon?
No. So 2015 was the first one I did in York.
Okay.
So George would have been
16.
Yeah, 15, 16.
Yeah, so he was pretty much into it.
Yeah, so he was obviously English schools and that type of thing. So he was taking it seriously. But there was also a part of that time where I would say to the kids, I can't keep telling them they've got to go to training. They've got to work hard. They've got to do this. If I'm just going to sit on the sofa and watch TV and do nothing, because they're not bothered what you've done before. They've seen it. But if they're not actually seeing it in real life, kids don't listen to their parents anyhow. But if you're not setting the example,
though, and it is a key role, and I'm quite interested to tap into your role, kind of as a parent who has performed at the top level with kids in different sports. How do you? Because there are a lot of parents that get very hands-on, almost too hands-on. And at the end of the day, don't understand that it's the children that have got to go out there and want to do it and to put the work in themselves. I mean, presumably you got that from the beginning, but is it very different having one in football and one in the athletics?
Yes and no. So my remit was to all the kids, if you work hard, I'll support you, no matter what you do. Be the best that you can be in whatever field you choose. It does not matter. I don't care if you want to be a bin man, or you want to be a nurse, or you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a runner, or you want to be a footballer. I'm not bothered in the slightest, but you have to try and be the best version of that every single day. And if you do try, and I will support you with everything that I've got. If you don't, then forget it. Go and do something else. So once the kids sort of found a talent and found something that they wanted to do, I was like, right, is this what you want to do? Because this is hard. If you tell me this is the direction you want to go in, I will help you and I will push you and I will put demands on you that you aren't always going to like. And it's like, and they're like, well, yes, this is what we want. I said, right, okay, then. So then you fall out of, you're still a parent, but you're half sort of psychological coach at the same time. And I think there was a race George turned up to in, I think it was Knowsley Safari Park. I think it was a cross-country race. It must have been an England, or whatever it was. It was a big race. And it was snowing and it was muddy and it was awful. And he turned up and he had no towel, no change of clothes, no this, no that. And
he did have some spikes though, right?
He did have spikes, yes. But he was freezing cold afterwards, and I said, and I kind of threw the book at him afterwards. and gone, right, you've not prepared properly for this. You haven't got a set of waterproofs to get before the race. You haven't got this, you haven't got that. So that never happens again. And to be fair, it didn't. It sunk in. Maybe I was a little bit harsh at the time, but he learned from that. And actually, preparation is the key. You have to prepare for every eventuality, just in case. And then that goes on to, control the controllables and all that type of thing. And similarly in football, with George's brother Stan in football, obviously it's a world that I know much more than I've learned a lot about athletics in, sort of the last 10 years or so. Fitness is kind of still fitness, but obviously the tactical ways of football is similar. And I did it to Stan last year. I watch, as a kid, it's like, do you want to be the best footballer you can be? Well, I have an insight. I've been there, seen it, done it, worked with some of the best. I can help you with that. And it was similar. He played a game and he came off and he was like, how do you think it went? I went, do you really want to know? And then it was a course of like 23 different clips. I went, this is not acceptable. If you want to be the best, this is how you can learn and this is how you can get better. Now it's on you. Either watch them, take it away and learn from it, or ignore it and don't want to improve. And it is difficult sometimes because they want to be better. I want them to be better. And maybe sometimes I do go not too far, but top sport is harsh, right? Elite sport is very, very harsh. You have to learn and build that resilience in some ways.
So what I'm interested as well, because you've got a unique insight to two elite worlds, obviously with running and football. I know running personally, football personally, but obviously with
daughter's boyfriend plays rugby now, so that doesn't help
either.
That's another one on there.
Another one to add to the list. But what kind of impresses you about or the uniqueness to what George goes through as a runner compared to football? Because I don't know the football world at all.
I think it's and you two will know more than anybody. It's the individualism. Yeah. It's the you can train with a team, but those they're not really your team. They are your teammates, but they're not really. You're not pushing for the same goal.
And
it's not a relay team.
Is unique, isn't it? I mean, I remember years ago chatting to Frank Lampard about it, and he was saying that he couldn't get his head around when you're in athletics, there's only you out there, and he was trying to explain that when you play a match, if you play really well, you get noticed. If you play really badly, you get noticed. And if you're kind of in the middle, the focus isn't really on you. And you can
also not hide in football, but if you've got a little bit of an injury or you're having a little bit of a bad day, you can, with experience, you can manipulate those situations so you don't get exposed, so you can still do okay. You can't do that in athletics.
No.
Long and short, you either come first or last. That's the harsh reality of athletics, isn't it? It's very, very difficult. So I think, team sports are much easier to get around. You're also watching what your teammates are doing all the time. And sometimes there's a little bit of, well, I only need to be a little bit better than them. Whereas if you're trained on your own away from competitors all the time, you're thinking, well, are they doing more than me? Do I need to be doing a bit more?
Yeah.
Should I be, I've done 2 runs. I've run 10 miles. Should I run 11? Because they might have run 11. Well, if they've run 11, I might run 12. And there's that psychological sort of warfare with yourself. But I think it's having that dedication when you're tired every day to just to get up and just, and George would say there's no secret sauce. It is consistency. And I said that the skill, the talent isn't of being able to run. The talent is the discipline to be doing the same thing day in, day out, when you don't want to, for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
And it's having the patience as well, isn't it, with it, to keep showing up each day. And you've probably seen, but I'm interested when you said, take it back to the kind of mental, when you were talking about your mind staying alert and the endurance helping with that, because presumably you spend a lot of time reading the game and your brain has to be completely switched on. So that is a skill that you've probably been able to help George with, because if you go into, 1500 is probably the ultimate tactical things going on. But if you move up to a 5K, it's still like 13, 14 minutes, 13 minutes at least of concentrating full on all the time, trying to read everything that's going on in that. So is that some way that you've been able to also help him with?
Yeah, I think I would say, I don't understand, or didn't understand early on, especially, the tactical side of it. And obviously the coaching setup of how to get to that sort of level. But there were lots of things around the preparation and the mentality of it, and I think you're dead right on that. It's like, you have to be, it's that balance of being focused but relax, when to make good decisions. The fact that sometimes you have to go against instinct and listen to your coach. And with George, there were several races where, and it was always, right, George, write down your plan and send it me before the race. So it was trying to sort of reiterate and instill in him what he knew he was supposed to be doing. And did he execute the plan properly? No, was the answer a lot of the time.
Sometimes, though, in his defence, there are some times in an athletics race where the plan has to go out the window and you've got to adapt because it doesn't fit into it.
But I think when you're sort of 17, 18, 19 and you're making maybe that transition from juniors to seniors, you go from winning juniors comfortably and then suddenly you step into sort of seniors and it's different.
Yeah.
And although it's not like football where there's a physicality and you're bumping each other, but there is a mindset, a different mindset to it. There is a physicality, there is a sort of an intimidation, there is a nervousness, and all that goes around it. So I think in that transitional phase of almost having to learn to run senior races, it's like, right, you've worked on this. What is your plan? Do not go to the front too early. Do not hit the front because you will be the rabbit. Do not do that. He's gone to the front too early. It's like, what were you thinking? Well, I just thought it was no, it wasn't that. And I think sometimes you have to learn to be uncomfortable in those situations. You have to do things that don't feel right. So like when you said, so then you are prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah.
If you've never been second, third or boxed in, you don't know how to get out of it. So you sometimes in races, maybe you have to force that position. And although you could perhaps win the race easily from the front, you have to go, you know what, I am going to sit in second or third. And I am going to wait until the last lap and see how fast I can kick on that last lap, just to give you as many different experiences as possible. Because I think, you always need a different way to win. It's very, very different and difficult if you don't have all those different attributes, if you like.
It's interesting because with everything you're talking about, I think trying to be comfortable in these situations to bring out the skills you have innately, and you mentioned going from kind of juniors to seniors, and you're almost going through these levels and you're trying to find comfort as you go through. And one of the issues around Olympics is it's once every 4 years, and if you're lucky you get more than one go, so you're almost trying to be your best in an environment you've never experienced before because it is so different. So I just wonder, in football, when you went to the World Cup, was it this out of the box kind of feeling compared to club, or was the transition between the intensity of Premier League to World Cup actually fairly similar? Because I think for runners, it is a difficult thing to get right first time round because it's so unique.
And this is where I think football is a lot better than athletics in that transitional period. Because look at my journey, you go from playing in front of 200 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, and you work your way through the system, into the reserves, into the first team, into the Championship, into the Premier League, into European football, into international football. There are lots of stepping stones along the way, playing against the very, very best. And then ultimately the World Cup becomes the pinnacle in that. But I think sometimes what happens is with athletics is, because there's a gap of 4 years, you might have almost a breakout season and you just get thrown into it. And it's not so much about the racing. It's about, how do you deal with the extra media? How do you deal with the village?
Yeah.
How do you deal with being in that environment? Suddenly all the kit that you've got thrown at you, how do you deal with tickets? All these types of things that actually are quite difficult to deal with. And I think in football, the journey is more progressive within that. There's a lot more support around that. And you look at the great managers, they would dip players in and out of games, give them a little bit of experience, and then take them out.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the issue I have around athletics. There isn't that drip feeding in to the process. And I think for me, when there are spare slots on teams, just take those people for experience. Allow them to understand it. Theo Walcott got taken to a World Cup as a 16-year-old, didn't really play. Players get taken to games, get taken to environments, get brought into the England squad and get to feel what it's like, get to see that and experience that.
It's a really good key point, isn't it, Tom? Because we're going into European champs and a Commonwealth where even though it's in the UK, England are still only taking, 60 people. They're only taking a small team. And you do feel like it is a scene where youngsters could come in, learn a huge amount. If we take it back to cross country, we used to do that. We used to take the juniors and it would be a learning experience. And you would kind of
under
come
21s,
through that.
When I played for England under 21s, we used to travel with the senior players. So you'd be in the same environment. You'd be in you start to learn what it feels like to be in that environment. Or you get Champions League game or a huge Premier League game. You wouldn't even be on the bench, but the manager would take you and put you in that and say, right, okay, walk out onto the pitch, feel the atmosphere. Feel the intensity, feel what it's going to be like. So when you finally get to that stage, suddenly it's not alien. It's not uncomfortable because you don't get there unless you've got the ability. And as especially the shorter distances, I think, marathon and longer stuff may be a little bit different because there's a lot more time to think within that. And often it's not in the stadium per se. But you've got that ability to go, actually, mentally, I know what it's like. I'm not going to be too anxious. I'm not going to be nervous. I've been in that cool room situation, which often at big championships can be hugely extended. You go from running a BMC where the cool room is maybe 5 minutes and you literally walk onto the track, or even sometimes the Diamond League's a bit more relaxed. Then suddenly you're going to an Olympics or a World Championships where there's so much going on. How do you deal with that? And how do you stay focused and relaxed when you've never experienced it ever before? And I think that's what's difficult.
And I think
junior...
Sorry, I was going to say, Paula, because to that point as well, and I think you made the point earlier about you're always second guessing what everyone else is doing. And it would appease that bit to be in that environment, to actually physically feel and see what they're doing at the top end. Helps give you a bit more clarity of what you're trying to prepare for, not just in the moment, but in training, and calm yourself down. Because I, without a doubt, think, certainly for myself personally, if I'd have experienced the Olympics before actually running it, I'd have done a lot better. So
I would say, Jakob's possibly, for me, Jakob's the greatest middle distance runner of all time. I think he's absolutely exceptional. So he had, a father and brothers that he could look up to, that he'd experienced professionalism probably from the age of 9 or 10 and seen what that looked like. But he'd also been in that environment, in and around it, to learn from his brothers what those experiences were like. So his first championship, of course he had the ability, but his mentality was, I've seen what they've gone through. I've seen them deal with it. I've learned from them. Yeah. So he had a double advantage, if you like, from being in that situation, because he'd seen it way before anybody else.
He had almost a triple advantage, didn't he? Because he was also coming in as the kid with no pressure, because he is just a kid. It's his first one, but he's got all of that background. But I do think, events like English schools, certainly back when I was doing them, we had a call room and we had you were penned in before the race. So things like that do help to give kids a flavour of it coming through. And I think a lot of it around Olympics and things is really not making it into a bigger deal. Because at the end of the day, it is the same people as the world champs. It's just
of course,
a bigger thing.
But it's those outside influences.
And that's what I mean. It's like more probably us putting the support around.
Of course,
the athletes.
it's no different from when I go on a football pitch. I'm playing the game. It's me versus the opposition. It's not a problem. but there are a million things around that are going on. You know, the press is hyped up, the interviews, the media scrutiny, all these types of things. Suddenly, that's what changes. The actual, the race doesn't change, your ability doesn't change, but pressures change.
The attention,
expectation and attention changes. And how do you respond to that? How do you feel within that? And it's becoming comfortable in those situations. Some people would have done perhaps a big interview that hits national news for the first time ever. And that can go one of two ways. It can, you can suddenly become, brilliant, or you can be really nervous and go into yourself. So I think it's learning, although it's the outside experiences that we need. And that's why I say, take kids to events and let them experience what it's like to be in the stadium. And they're not, if they're good enough to get in there, they might go out in the heat, but so what? You then learn that experience. And obviously a good friend of mine, Gareth Southgate, is very much like, teams don't win the first time around. Even Manchester City didn't win the Champions League for many, many years. You have to go through a process of trying, getting close, failing, trying, getting close, failing. Now, you don't get that in the Olympics, so you've got to try and replicate that away from that. And same with, even when Germany football redid their whole process, they got to a quarter-final, a semi-final, a final, a semi-final, and then they won it. Spain was similar.
Yeah.
It's very, very, we expect, I think, from Olympians to go from almost nothing, because 4 years is a long time, to winning a gold medal. And that's very, very difficult to be able to do that, unless you are an incredibly exceptional talent, like Keely's done. She works hard, obviously, but she has an innate talent, and she's done that from a very young age. But even she's gone through stepping stones, to get to that stage, to feel comfortable at that level.
Well, she had the quiet Tokyo to start with, not to take anything away, but like Tokyo was not proper, because I was there, and it was a very different Olympics to any other Olympics, because all the things you've talked about were stripped out. No audience, yes, there was attention, but it was a lot more at distance, and so you didn't feel.
Mo was the same. Sir Mo, we should call him his proper name.
Who is slower than your boy.
Was similar, Well, but the first one, maybe didn't get it right. You have to learn from that process, and then you go into the second one and go, well, actually, what did I get wrong from that? It's very, very difficult to get it right first time of asking, I think. And I think we can offer a lot more support in and around that.
So really, this is an interesting one, and you bring that up. So in 2008, his first Olympics, I picked him up from the hotel where all the athletes came back from Beijing, and I was picking up Mo and my now wife Gemma, and I was driving them back to Teddington. And obviously, they've come back from the Olympics. Mo's didn't go well. Gemma wasn't happy either, but me and Gemma were chatting. Mo said not a single word from picking him up to Teddington. Not because he was rude, not because he was annoyed at me. He was in such deep thought of everything that had happened. He'd already had a few days to decompress from the race, but there was something about him that in that drive to Teddington, and it was only half an hour, I thought, he's not going to let that happen again. There was just it ruminated in him deep what had happened, and he learned a lot about himself. And 4 years later, the rest is history. But it was a really interesting. When you say that, it was so interesting. Not a single word, just in deep thought.
But that's the biggest thing I think that set Mo apart is his ability to learn quickly, really learn quickly within a race, and also let go of the baggage, because sometimes you have to take what you can lessons wise, and then just leave the rest because it's not helpful. And he's very, very good at staying single-minded with that. So that happened, nothing I could do about it. It's done now. What am I going to do now? He's very, very good at going on to that. And I guess psychological support is probably something that you get a bit more. I was going to touch on, Danny, the differences between the football world and the support that you get around it, nutrition as well, and then the psychological.
Well, there's a little bit more money in football, which helps. From a very, very early age. So you get inundated, sometimes too much. And again, that's where I've been able to sort of help my kids and filter out the nonsense and filter out the irrelevant stuff, if you like. But there is a huge support around football. From a Premier League team now has, well, so let's say England have gone to the World Cup. So there'll be 26 players. I'm assuming there's probably a total staff of 60, including that training. So there'll be 40 extra staff to look after the players. There'll be 5 masseurs, 4 physios, 2 chefs, people looking after tickets, people make sure you've got the right pillow, the right mattress in your hotel room. All these, every single detail and you are mollycoddled. You are looked after to the nth degree. Now, that's not always great when you come out of football, because if you've been at a high level, you can't look after yourself. You have no independence, and that can become a problem. Athletics is almost the opposite. It's like, off you go. I need some help. Well, sort it out for yourself. Speak to your coach. Deal with. It's almost opposite ends of the spectrum, and I think that's it seems unfair. At times, and I see it obviously in stark contrast. I've got obviously one that's a runner, one that's a professional footballer, 5 years younger, and obviously there is a huge difference in how they get treated and what is available and the resources available to them. But again, I guess football's much easier in that way, but because of the money, it has different pressures, I guess. But I've always said, Paul, that watching athletics and football, the only similarity I would put together is a penalty shootout. Because if you make one mistake in a race, it's very, very difficult to come back from that.
Yeah.
And again, maybe marathon's a little bit difficult. You've got a little bit
can
more
make
time.
a few there.
Well, but really, if you're talking about anything probably below 5,000 and below, you can't really make a mistake. And if something it's very difficult at the level that you're at to come back from that. And so it's like watching a penalty shootout. If you make that mistake, it's gone. You can't get it back. Whereas if you're watching a whole game of football, you can miss an open goal. You can make a mistake and concede a goal, but you've got time to address that and put it right within the game. So it's a little bit more relaxed watching it. Athletics is nail biting, because you're just thinking your tactics have to be perfect. Your execution has to be perfect. The smallest of mistakes, and you can go from first, second to 8th. It's finite. And it's very, very. Athletics is a hard watch.
I was going to ask you, as a parent, is it easier to play or watch the kids?
It's a million times easier to play.
Yeah, because you know what's going on,
and you're in control, and you can dictate. And I think sometimes it's a little bit harder when you've been in it, because you know what they should be doing. You know the right things that they should be doing. Football's a little bit easier. And for instance, start of the season, Georgie by the stand goes through on goal. He's got one-on-one with the keeper. He misses the kick and he hits the post. And you think, it was a great chance. 5 minutes later, he gets a very, very similar opportunity and scores. And suddenly it's that way he's the hero. Everybody forgets the one that you missed because you've had a chance to redeem yourself. You don't get that in a race.
Yeah.
You can't, I didn't quite execute that right, got it wrong. You don't get to come back 10 minutes later and have another go at it. So I'd much rather be out there playing than watching. I'd much rather watch football than athletics. Athletics is the most nerve-wracking. It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And I guess even in Rome, when George won his first senior medal, they started off, and what you would call the better athletes, there was about a 40-metre gap between, for the first half of the race, and you're thinking, and like Jakob and Lobalu and all sort, I think Amalgam were in that, and you're thinking, this is a little bit too far, and you sort of get, this is a little bit uncomfortable, this is too big a gap, and then they caught everybody up, and then George and Jakob started to break away, and even coming into the last 100 metres, you're thinking, there's a 20-metre gap between these two. Is that enough? Are they going to be hot? And right until the very, very, until you cross that line, you're still thinking, please, something don't happen. Please, that falls happen. George had falls and been tripped, and anything can happen in a race. And so it's that until it's over, it's never over. Whereas in football, you can be 3-0 up at half time, and the second half's a little bit of a, get the cigars out and just enjoy it. I'm not sure either of you have had too many races where you're, 4 minutes ahead with 10 minutes to go. It doesn't happen very often.
Is it possible to compare, like, what it feels like to, in your case, you playing Brazil in a World Cup quarterfinal and then running London Marathon for you personally? Is it even possible? Because very few people get to be on the pitch playing football and being part. But in London Marathon, you can be in that race with everyone. Imagine if every England fan could be on the pitch playing against Brazil. I'm sure they would try. But do you know what I mean?
No, but running a marathon is a lot more enjoyable.
Okay.
Because it's
because you're at different stages as well. You were in the marathon to have fun. And as you said, you're only trying to run faster than you have done.
But to have fun as well.
You can't take that competitive bit out. But most people are in there just to get around.
I think, I'm sure, when you step over that line, when you cross that white line, the whistle goes, you are in the moment. And every outside thought goes away. You are so focused on, I need to do my job. I need to execute my job to the best that I possibly can. And you adapt and change, obviously, within that. But you tend to forget the crowd noise. You forget what's happening at home. You forget what's happening in the rest of the world. It does not matter. You are so focused in that moment that it's not a problem. Whereas obviously then when you finish and you do a little bit, and that's why I always loved running. But once I finished, it was like, do you know what I love about running? I don't have to push myself. I want to, and I can if I want, but if I feel a little bit tired on one day, I can just run slower. Whereas when I was playing in the off season, whatever, I was always running for a target. And I'm sure that might be the same with you. You can start to run for fun because you enjoy running, as opposed to, I need to hit this time. I need to hit that time. I need to push myself. And it changed my whole sort of dynamic of running, if you like. Yes, you've then got a competitive edge where I want to get a PB and I want to do this. But running's enjoyable.
Yeah, you can
it clears your head.
And so I'm interested in that, actually, when you touch on that, because it's like, I always think that I'm extremely lucky to be in the sport that I'm in, that you can push it to top level. And then when you retire, you can still just keep doing it. Just times don't matter anymore. It's just that feeling. Is that something that you can still do with football? Can you just go for a kick around and enjoy that? Or has that completely gone into your running?
If the knees would allow me, I would do. And I would, kick about in the garden, and I've played sort of charity games and bits and pieces, and I don't care anymore. It's like, not interested. It's like, you just play because it's no longer about winning.
Yeah, it's that feeling and the buzz that it gives you is similar
to a kid. Being able to do it and having a bit of fun with it and that type of thing. And I'm sure, you guys are the same. When you trained, everything was on the watch. Everything was about recovery. And now you wake up and you go, well, you know what? I've got a bit of a cold. I feel a bit tired today. I won't do as much. I'll just go and I'll just take, and I won't even bother putting the watch on. And if I want to stop and take a photo of beautiful scenery or whatever, I can.
Yeah.
And suddenly, that you loved your job when you did it, but ultimately it's a job, right? And it's about winning, and it's about being successful and the best that you can be, and pushing yourself every single day. And as enjoyable as that is, it's also hard, and mentally it's difficult. I never enjoyed a game when I played the game. I enjoyed the aftermath and I enjoyed the training, but actually during the game, there's so much pressure. There's so much focus to perform and to win, because if you don't, the scrutiny, or you're out of the team, or whatever it might be, it's very rare that you actually enjoyed the games, unless you were 3-0 up, 5-0 up with 5 minutes to go and you think, well, we can't lose this. But there was always jeopardy. Generally even in the last 10 minutes, even at 2-0, you're still thinking, well, if they score now, we're under the pump. It's going to come.
But you not get a bit of a buzz from that jeopardy? Like a bit of excitement just comes out of the fact that it was
always, although it was a team game, and people say, what do I miss now? And I guess the bit that I would miss most of all would be standing in the tunnel before the game and turning and looking at my opposite number, or looking at my winger and going, right, it's me against you. First and foremost, I have to do my job. I have to beat you. And then I can start to help the team and do my job for the team and everything else. But ultimately, it's me against you. And if you beat me, I'm getting dragged off at halftime, and I might not play in the next game. And, you know, slaughtered in the press and everything else that goes with that.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And I think, you know, that's maybe that the difference in the biggest difference, I think, in athletics and football is the scrutiny when you don't do as well. And I would say, you know, most athletics venues I've been at, obviously everybody in the stadium wants you to do well. There's no animosity between teams or between countries so much, or what it might be. Everybody appreciates when you're at athletics. Everybody appreciates what those athletes have gone through. Everybody appreciates how hard they've worked.
Yeah.
Where in football, there's a direct rivalry, and it's versus
it's
you.
It's like Hugh Brayshaw made that point, didn't he, Thommo? And he was saying that in most sports, there's kind of a tribal mentality. It's us against them. Whereas in athletics, it is a lot more, particularly in something like the London Marathon. It's really, we're in this together. And there's a very small minority of that race that actually are bothered about beating everyone else.
I've done London Marathon with friends, and a pal of mine, Gary, who's one of the most successful people I know, did the London Marathon with me 2 years ago. And I said, take your earphones out, put your name on your bib, and just run your own race and just enjoy it. And he finished it, and he was amazing and everything else. And, you know, people shouted his name, and he finished it. He went, you know what? He said, that is one of the biggest achievements, one of the proudest achievements I've ever done in life. And he just, because he was mid-50s, never thought he was going to do it, was going to do it in COVID, and it sort of got cancelled, all the rest of it. And he did it, and he just said he lapped it up. He loved every single minute, because everybody at the London Marathon wants you to do well. And the elite part of it is almost a side issue. You know, that the elite race is the elite race. That's for pro athletes. For most people, it's about achieving something that is incredibly unique. You know, there aren't many people that run marathons. And I say to anybody, you know, you are in that top 0.1% of the world population that has run a marathon and completed it. It's an incredible achievement to get to the start line and get round. So it's about enjoying it. Yeah. And most people are running for a cause, right? Most people are running for a reason. You know, there is some heartfelt reason why they are doing it for them. I said, so just enjoy it. And I always think I think London, the atmosphere at London is incredible. And I was fortunate. I did New York a few years ago as well, and it's great, but it's a different event. I didn't find the atmosphere anywhere near as good as London. Maybe I'm biased, but I just thought the atmosphere in London, every time I've done it, and maybe I've been fortunate as well, I think 5 times I've done it, the weather's been quite decent. The crowds are sensational. Yeah. And, you know, and everybody shouts your name, and everybody wants you to do well. And when you know, people giving out bananas and sweets and whatever it might be, there aren't many other sporting events where that would happen. No. Because most sporting events, some people want you to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a winner and a loser.
Yeah, there's always that. Well, you know, half the people want you to lose, and that's, you know, and that's the difference.
Well, Danny, honestly, we could talk to you all day. Yeah. I'm really conscious. I just want to ask you one final last question before we let you go, if that's all right. Just because I know there'll be a lot of parents listening. Kids are growing up. Kids go through puberty. Particularly boys can really struggle with that growth spurts. And I'm just kind of curious, are there tips that you can pass on to kind of support? I've got my son going through it at the moment, shot up like 15 centimetres in the last year. And things take time to adjust. And I think whichever the sport is, a key part of that is the support that they've got, that, okay, this isn't, you've got to take time, you've got to be patient with it, because no kid at 15, 16 wants to be patient.
No, I think one of the hardest things is, as a parent per se, is teaching your kids that things that you do now that aren't going to benefit you for 6, 7 months, 8 months, a year down the line. That's hard. Because everybody wants instant success. So, you know, things take time to build. So trying to say to a kid, well, if you start doing this now, in 6 months' time, it's going to be great. They go, yeah, whatever. If I'm doing it now, I want it good tomorrow. Well, that's not life. It doesn't happen. But I would say within sport, and I've always tried to differentiate, everybody dreams of being an elite sports person. Let's be honest, it's very unlikely. You know, and I was that dad on the sideline of going, you know, watching the boys play football. Oh, these lads are really good. How many do you think they're going to make it? None. Oh, right. And then they go to an academy. How many lads are these going to make it through? None. And then he gets to sort of 16, 17, 18. How many lads are these going to make it out of this elite team? One, if you're lucky. You know, elite sport is different. And it's very, very hard. When you look at the numbers involved in it, it's very, very difficult to get to elite. You know, athletics especially, you've got to be top 20 in the world probably to make a living out of it. If not, you know, you're kind of struggling. Beyond that, football's a little bit different. Obviously, it's global. The numbers are bigger within that. So I would just say that the most important thing is let the kids enjoy it. Make sure they're having fun. They're not going to win all the time. The chances are they aren't going to be elite sportsmen or elite athletes. So don't give them that false pretense that they might be. Once they get to 16, 17, you start to recognise the talent. It's maybe a little bit different. And even then, it's very, very hard. Sport is about enjoying it, having fun, being there with your mates, about self-improvement. You know, can you get a better PB? Can you train harder? If you train harder, you get better. And this is why I love golf now. Because as an individual sport, it's measurable. The more work I put into it, the better I get. It's irrelevant to what anybody else is doing. I'm never going to be a professional. I'm never going to be that. But I enjoy that journey. And that's hard for kids. And I think sometimes parents get a little bit carried away as, oh, my son, my daughter could make it. They could become the next Paula Radcliffe. They could become the next, you know, Chris Thompson. They could become the next Mo Farah, whatever it might be. It's tough. You know, sport is about, I think it's fantastic for discipline. It's, you know, fantastic for health benefits of that. I think when you then kids go into the real world, you can tell those kids that have been involved in sport, that have had that discipline to work hard, to turn up to training when it's peeing down with rain, when it's cold, when it's miserable. And I think it gives you those disciplines in life. And there's the social element to it as well. So, I mean, the biggest thing I would say to parents is, as hard as it is, let the kids be kids and let them enjoy it. And we see it, and I've seen it a lot more in football, where it's the parents want the kids to win. You know, in even athletics, it's the parents want the kids to win. It's like most of the time, kids finish a race and they've done their day out. And sometimes athletics can be really long, right? You know, you can have 8 in the morning till 5 at night, and you've had 3 races in between, and you've had to take your picnic, everything else. Once the kids are finished, they want to go, oh, can we stop at McDonald's on the way home? Well, you know, it's like the kids let it go very, very quickly. It's like, did you have fun? Yeah, I got a PB. Where did you come? Oh, 8th. It's kind of irrelevant to the kids. But for parents, sometimes it means an awful lot more. And I think parents put too much pressure on their kids. It's not until later. It's not realistically, I think, you know, it's 15, 16, maybe football's a bit sooner, maybe sort of 14-ish, where you start to learn maybe they've got the smallest of chances of making it. And again, athletics is anybody can run. It's hard. And I would say that the numbers, especially in football, because I know it, 500 people, 500 players, men around the world play in the Premier League and Championship every week. That's 500 people out of a world population of men aged 17 to 35 of just over 1 billion. So any mathematicians, take your shoes and socks off, Thommo. Work out that work out that percentage of 500 people out of 1 billion play professional sport at the highest level in England. The chance that you've got more chance of winning the lottery 3 times in a row than you have of making it as professional, and that'll be the same as winning a gold medal. Because that's once every 4 years. The chances of that are so slim. And I would just say it's great to have goals that are obtainable. Be realistic about those goals. You know, George had that very early on. He said, right, I want to win once he started to get good at it, I want to win a gold medal. And you can see, well, actually, there's a progression level to that, and it's going to be incredibly difficult, but it's a possibility. Distant possibility, but a possibility. Whereas if I suddenly said it now, it's a dream. There's a real difference between having a dream that's unrealistic and a goal that you can see that you're working towards. And that's in any walk of life, what you do. You have to have targets to aim at, but make them, and have mini targets along the way, make them attainable. Because if not, you're only ever going to be disappointed. And there are so many lows in life, and in sport, there are so many more downs than there are ups. That I can count out of a 20-year career, the real high moments, probably a dozen. I can tell you about 1,000 low moments that I've had.
But they are the ones that make you as well.
And they're the ones, but they're the ones you remember. That I always say to, and this is the same for business and whatever walk of life it is, the highs go like that. They're amazing for a very, very short space of time. The ones that eat you up are the losses and the things that go wrong, because you replay them over and over again. Why did it go wrong? What happened? It's also why the best become the best, because I don't know about you two, but I've seen in lots of walks of life that I would say that the most successful people are driven by the fear of failure rather than the high of winning.
Yeah,
and for instance, Paul, when you were favourite to win races, what was your biggest concern?
Winning it.
But I guess it was losing.
No.
Was it not?
But I think I don't know.
Because I look at Usain Bolt.
Each time just trying to be better. Yeah, but I think it's a very different mentality in the 100 to the marathon.
Possibly. But the biggest story was not when Usain won, when he lost. That was the story. Mm-hmm. And so for those,
but he's a good example, because I was reading a thing the other day and they were talking about his mindset on the start line. And he said when everyone else is trying to psych themselves up and get really into it, he went the opposite way and he tried to bring it down. And what he did was run faster. So it is, I think, sometimes being you is what works.
Yeah, but it's the relationship.
And I think that's
definitely.
It's what works for you and gets the best out of you. And the longevity of it, isn't it?
But I think when success becomes, and I've seen this in every walk of life, when success becomes normal, and success becomes almost expected, it's the failure you don't want to fail. Yeah.
It's also you don't want to let yourself down.
That's
so
what I mean.
The two kind of go together.
It's a very fine line of actually, and I guess if you're expected to win, you've won. Yes, job done. Mm-hmm. If you're expected to win and you don't win, disaster.
Yeah.
And it's that what you have to deal with, and it's those that can deal with that. Rory McIlroy in the golf, for example. Mm-hmm. And golf's a great one because the ball doesn't move. It's an individual sport, and it's psychologically it's massive. And it's actually, do you miss that 3-foot putt or do you put it in? It's probably it might be £2 million riding on that.
Yeah. And part of that is just blocking it out, isn't it?
And that's what it. Yeah,
it's the
and that's what's hard
with it, because again, when people hear the word failure or fear of failure, they take it literally, but it's not. It's the relationship, because as much as it is a driving force, and that's what Steve Peters talks about, is how we then turn that into a performance. So it's not literally going failure is consuming. It's failure as a drive.
Accepting failure as a learning process.
Yes.
And actually accepting it's going to happen. You are not going to win every race. You are not going to win every football match. You are not going to be perfect in every business that you run. But learn from those and be better next time. And then it goes back to the cliches: believe in the process and go through that. But I think once you become very, very successful and winning becomes almost expectant, it's hard to go back the other way. Whereas if you not come from nowhere, but if it's a surprise, no one expects you to be in the top 5 and you win a silver medal. You've won a silver medal.
Yeah. And it's where you take it from there.
Yes, if you're expected to win gold and you get a silver, it's how you process. It's how you process that and deal with that.
Did you
Danny,
see?
we've taken up so much of your time.
But
I'm
that's
so
one
conscious.
Quick thing, Paula. One quick thing.
Okay.
You said the golf thing, and it's not a question. I don't know if you saw that documentary on Tiger Woods, where whenever he got down for a putt during his height, he would imagine a sniper in the crowd just intensely looking at him, that if you missed that, a gun was pointed at him before he took a putt. And that's how he created this intensity around him to narrow his focus in to take that putt and succeed. So it's like creating a lot of what we're talking about, but it sounds intense and it sounds negative, but actually it was a huge positive for him, because that's how
pressure is the biggest problem in any sport. And again, a lot of sports are kind of fluid, and you sort of, and even in running, football, whatever, you kind of go with it in the moment. But golf, for example, it's a 3-foot putt that ordinarily we would all make, and we're not great golfers. But if I said to you, if you miss that, you've got to give me £1 million, suddenly the hand starts. you start because it's the jeopardy, and all of a sudden, and that's and that again, psychologically, this is where the elite are able to deal with that and able to overcome those situations. And I think that's, in any walk of life, that's what sets them apart. It's that ability to deal with circumstance and pressure and take a positive out of that and make yourself better, rather than go into your shell and crumble within. And we've all seen it happen, unfortunately. It's one of those things. And you can learn bits of that. And again, like I said, you have to go back to kids. They have to learn to lose, learn to get better. What did I make better out of that?
Isn't it? Learn to learn from each of the things.
And it's very easy as a parent, as an older person, to as a cliche, it's like, when I didn't lose, I learned. Yeah, sometimes that's quite hard.
Yeah, well, you've got to take yourself back to your mindset when you were a kid, hasn't you? And try and pass that on as much as possible. Danny, thank you so much for joining us. As we record this, you do have to shoot off to England, Croatia. Hopefully that goes well by the time this podcast drops, because they will have played by then. But yeah, best of luck. I'm sure you're kind of like juggling a lot of things at the moment. Will you get back for the trials as well?
No, George won't be running. Charles, he's had a slight injury. So I think he's got a pass. Just had a slight tweak, delayed his start of the season. But I'll be watching to see who gets there. And obviously you got Commonwealths and Europeans in the UK. A quieter summer, I guess, in terms of athletics, but a very exciting, I think, summer for British athletics, especially, where a lot of people will get to see homegrown athletes on home soil. Hopefully get a fantastic support. Still looking forward to it all.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks so much, Danny. Thank you. That was a great listen, wasn't it, Thommo? So many little gems in there, and I just love kind of listening to Danny's philosophy on that. I mean, it can be, people will say it was probably quite hard on his kids as well, but do you need that to get to the top level as well? It's almost like he strikes that balance very, very well, doesn't he, between keeping it real and making it very clear what you need to do, and at the same time being a dad, and you've most likely you just want to have fun with it and take it where you want to take it. I think the way I see it is it's when you're trying to get the best out of yourself and being blunt about your own personal kind of performance, that's very different to the talk about whether you're the best in the world. And I think that's where he gets a good balance of, it's about being the better you day in, day out. And if that transpires to being the best in the world, brilliant. But it's not about looking at that. It's about the fun and the enjoyment when you look outside the box, and it's that comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that's where at a young age it can be that. And actually putting expectations where he said at the start about, look, if you do something, and George has talked about this a lot, about his dad saying, if you're going to do something, you do it properly. And that's a great philosophy for whatever in life, isn't it? Exactly. And he also, the other one I loved, and I didn't get onto the story of, he talked about pressure and our relationship with pressure, and how elite sports people have quite a quirky way of dealing with it, which was when I mentioned the Tiger Woods story.
and quite often elite athletes have Steve Peters fascinated me when he talks about it, of that specialist mindset of how you can actually be quite derogative in self-talk, but it's actually a positive, and how you twist it in your brain. And I remember, and I can only remember this story in the fact it was Michael Jordan, who loves golf, and the person telling the story was the person he was playing golf with. And Danny talked about pressure and how pressure changes everything when it comes to sport and the challenge. So you could have a 4-foot putt, but if you put 3 millions on the line, it becomes a very different putt. It's like the $1 million question. If someone says to me, write your name on a piece of paper for £1 million, you second guess spelling it out because there's pressure. So Michael Jordan was stood on the tee, and this person telling the story said he stood on the tee, and he turned to Michael Jordan because he knew he liked to bet, and he said, how much do you want to play for? Let's make this game interesting. And Michael Jordan's reply was simply, whatever amount of money makes you nervous. And so it was a very clear point of the skill's no different. Everything what we're going to do today is not changing, but the only way to change it is to put an outside pressure onto what you do to make you second guess the skill.
And that reminds me of that time when Mo went on the cube.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And he completely, because his mindset, and especially now, I mean, then we didn't know all of the story behind his growing up. And I think that massively fed into that moment, because I think most people, when you're playing for $1 million for charity, it suddenly becomes huge and you really, really tense up. But I think he was in there with it. This isn't life and death. This is just a game. And as long as you keep it a game, you stay relaxed. And that ability to do that, I'm sure, helped him massively on the start line in many, many big races, but really helped him in that moment. And it is that ability just to say, it is just another game.
He often said to me, when I would talk to him one-on-one, he often said to me, people don't realise what motivates me, or why I approach things the way I do.
Yeah.
And he said that from quite a young age, and it took me a while to kind of piece together what he meant by that, and what you've just alluded to is part of that, of how he would simplify things. And actually, it's exactly right. As soon as you put a large amount of money on that cube, it's like he was just flicking balls out of a bowl.
Yeah. And he could do it normally, and probably all of us could do it if there wasn't £1 million for charity raising on it.
It's just, do you know what and again, we all have our fears. One of my biggest ones that, and I know I do this, and there's no way around it for me. Well, I say no way around it, but anyway, if you draw a white line on the floor and you ask me to walk along that white line like 1 foot in front of the other, I'll do it without second guessing. You raise it 10 foot off the ground, and I'm like, I go to pieces, because the height just throws me off. And it's whatever.
It's the fear. Again, the fear coming into it, isn't it?
And I can't, and that fear, and as Danny talked about, I can't replace that fear of, in that scenario, to be a positive, but I could in other scenarios, which again, when I think quite often we can get obsessed by our own interpretation of words, and our interpretation of fear, and our interpretation of that is, for quite a lot of people, be negative, but it's not. It's about the realism of the situation and your relationship with this words to create a positive. It sounds deep, and it's not meant to be. It's just trying to give that insight of fear of failure is not, on the surface written down, looks negative, but it's how we look at it, how we reframe it, how we change it, and how we it's
seeing it as a goal, isn't it? I mean, just really quickly, I was reading something this week that said that the difference in the elite athlete's mindset and your regular athlete is that there is a point, particularly in athletics, there's a point in the race where it hurts. And you either go, oh, it hurts, what do I do now? I don't like this. Or you go, well, this is what it's meant to feel like. I'm just going to see how long I can hold my hand in the flame and get through this. And that's the kind of difference. And it's trying to explain that in a really, really simple way that, it hurts everyone. It's just who sees it as a game and who sees it as this hurts. And that's the difference at that point, which I thought was a different take on it, but kind of simplified it a little bit.
That's where, again, I talk about that relationship with self is sometimes an elite athlete can be seen as arrogant or cocky. It's not. It's because for what you've just said, we have this deep down belief we can defeat ourselves, or we can
Or
better
we just
ourselves.
see, what if I can go a bit further today? And then you keep doing that. It's in essence what Audrey Verro did. She just, what if I can hang with Keely a bit longer? What if I can hang with Keely a bit longer? Oh, what if I can come past her again? And then suddenly the tables change a little bit.
You just made me think. So we're recording this and she's attempting tonight. She's asked for 56. Can she get the world record? Because this goes out next week. Will she do it?
Yeah, full disclosure, we don't know that. We will know by next week. We might have to drop a little bit of a spoiler in. We will, of course, have been through the British Champs as well, that we were chatting about with George. So best of luck to all of the athletes, and hopefully we'll have a lot to pick up on next time around to kind of resume all of that and go over it all. But right now, at this moment, I'd like to take this moment to thank our friends at Wild Nutrition for sponsoring us. They are, of course, offering Paula's Run Club listeners an exclusive 50% off for 3 months.
Yeah, that's right. Plus, you get a completely free personal consultation with a registered nutritional therapist. It's an incredible deal, and today we want to chat about a brand new launch of theirs that is the perfect for supporting your foundational well-being.
So, Thommo, did you know that only 4% of us actually meet our daily fibre intake requirements, and that number shrinks to just 1% for women aged 65 and over?
Yeah, it is surprisingly low, and I'm pretty certain I sit in that category of not getting enough. And today, especially when you think about how important it is for overall health and running fueling, it definitely sounds like it's time for some trusted support on this one.
Absolutely, and that's where your Fibre Fundamental comes in. Meet the new High Fibre Plus from Wild Nutrition. It's a diverse 7-in-1 blend that lends a helping hand exactly when you need it.
Yeah, what makes it stand out is how it's made. The High Fibre Plus combines sun fibre, nature knit, and a unique fruit and vegetable matrix. This combination gives you genuinely diverse source of fibre that is scientifically studied and designed to be very gentle on digestion.
Exactly. It's entirely formulated to support healthy digestion and your overall foundational well-being.
So that's, again, Wild Nutrition are giving Paula's Run Club listeners exclusive 50% off for 3 months and a free personal consultation with a nutritional therapist. Just go to wildnutrition.com/Paula to get started.
Yeah, that's wildnutrition.com/Paula to get started so you can feel the difference yourselves. Terms and conditions apply. Now, Thommo, we want to hear, of course, about everybody's running clubs, run groups, whatever they are, what motivates you, who helps and supports you. Let us know how that works for you. You can, of course, write in to Paula's Run Club at momentumbroadcast.co.uk. On WhatsApp, it is +44 7564 747 914. And on socials, we are at Paula's Run Club. Doesn't matter how, but just feedback to us and what makes your group special, because we still do have those 2 copies of Dan Woodger's London Marathon picture to give away, and we will be giving it away next week. So it is your last chance. And on the running theme we've had through this, Thommo, you've got a roller coaster update for us, have you?
A roller coaster, yeah. So for people that didn't listen, we had we talked a bit about the Disney weekend marathon, or marathon 10K half, and just by chance on the BBC website a story popped up, and I haven't told you the exact story of this before we came on, but 2 twin brothers got a record for riding the Blackpool Tower roller coaster for the 20,000th ride. So they went on that roller coaster 20,000 times, and they started back in May 2001.
Yeah, but they didn't run a marathon between each one, though, did they?
No, they didn't.
No. So it's not as good as Disney.
Well,
I'm joking. I'm very impressed.
But because I love a roller coaster, and I thought I think I managed, I reckon, about 20 times on the trot, and I obviously never did it again. But I did think, wow, like not many people would want to do that, but 20,000 times on the Blackpool. I think it's Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But yeah,
so do they now get an exclusive fast pass to go to the front of the queue every time? That would be quite cool as well, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Congratulations. A different sort of record, but yeah, a cool one. And don't forget to write in and let us know as well if you have taken part in that Disney one and how many rides you managed to squeeze into that one, because I think Thommo's really motivated to get out there and try and do that. That is about all that we have got time for this week. Shout out to everybody out there getting ready for exams as well. Try and combine those with a bit of running. I certainly think it helped me. I don't know about you, Tomo, but it really helped me just being able to escape and decompress in exam season. Didn't matter whether it was GCSEs, A-levels or finals at uni. It's a tough time, and a little bit of time outside in your own head, I think, helps as a coping mechanism for that one. So good luck to everybody there. And once more, a reminder of those contacts. It is Paula's Run Club at momentumbroadcast.co.uk. If you're emailing in, if you're WhatsApping or sending us a video message, it's +44 7564 747 914. And on socials, it's Paula's Run Club. That is a monster episode we've had this week, but hopefully you've managed to squash that in around everything else that's going on in sport at the moment. It has been a Momentum Media production, and we will see you on Thursday for the shakeout and next Monday for the main pod.
I'm not letting you get away with it, Paula. Will Wero run the world record tonight?
Oh, is this my 1 minute challenge?
Well, it's that. Let's close on it, because you
you know what?
An advert.
What I know you're going to say this is me being a mum again, but I think that race could produce it. I think it's going to spur the both of them on. So if we see a faster, and to run faster than she already has done is phenomenal. So taking steps towards that, I'm not sure we're actually going to see a world record, but we might. If we do, we're going to see Keely get there as well, I think. So okay. I think it is that snowball effect. And I think it's great to see, and both of them have addressed that. Vero has said she wouldn't be where she is without that inspiration, motivation that Keely's provided. And this has given Keely a kick up the backside to motivate her even more to want that world record. And she was already motivated for it. So yeah, I think we've got a great summer of racing coming up, and I've kind of sat on the fence there, but I think it's going to be fast. And we mustn't forget Femke Bol's in there as well.
I was going to say Fem's in there as well.
But I don't think she's yet at that level. I might be proven totally wrong, but I do think it is. It's Vero and Keely. One of those is getting very close to it.
I'm going to give the audience what they want, which is a blunt answer. I think Vero won the world record by 1/10 of a second, and I think Femke Bol will run 1:55.4.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
I'm just putting it out there. I'm putting it out. If it's exactly that, people won't believe when this is recorded. We'll have to date stamp, but this is...
I will.
But
well, they did stamp it by me being here, so everyone here can know that this was done before.
There you go. We'll see.
There you go. We'll do that way.
I will put it out there.
We will see you next time.
She looks so good. She looks so good, Wero. I think she can do it. But anyway, right. Thanks everyone for listening. That was more than enough. We've taken enough of your time.
See you next time.
See you later, guys. Cheers. Bye bye.